Welcome to 4-day code camp on Hibernate and JPA, EJB, and JMS. So just to give you a sense of what we are going to cover during the next 4 days, let's just go to the class website. So we have two major topics, Hibernate and JPA, and then two minor topics, EJB 3.0 and JMS. Okay. So my goal today is to cover 3 or 4 Hibernate topics. So we are going to start with the Hibernate step by step. So here we are going to just build Hibernate application step by step. And then we are going to cover some basic concepts of Hibernate through Hibernate basics. And then we are going to cover Hibernate mapping, one-to-one mapping, one-to-many mapping, and so basically relationships, one-to-one relationship, one-to-many relationship, and many-to-many relationship. And we are going to also cover inheritance relationship. And then query language. So those are 3 or 4 topics. Those are 4 topics I have in mind today. And tomorrow we are going to cover transaction and concurrency, and join fetch, and caching. And from probably at the end of the second day and from the third day, we are going to move on to JPA. So JPA basics, mapping, as well as query language, and JPA advanced topics, and transaction. Just to give you a sense of the scope of what we are going to cover in JPA and EJB and JMS, we are going to have another 4-day code camp in May. So these topics, JPA is based on early versions. I mean, these are basically the basic concept JPA, and in Java EE6 code camp, which we are going to do in May, we are going to cover some more advanced topics, advanced features that are introduced in Java EE6 and 7. Okay, so that is basically what we are going to do. So every day we are going to start from 9:30 Eastern time, and then we'll have a 15 minutes break before lunchtime. There will be 30 minutes lunchtime at 12:30, which is going to be 3 hours from now, and then we are going to have another 15 minutes in break in the afternoon. Okay, and we are going to finish at 4:30 Eastern time. So it's going to be 7 hours each day. Okay. This is going to be very hands-on, so I'm going to give you guys enough time to write code and try, play around with code. Okay, so let's start with the Hibernate step by step. So the way things are going to work in our webinar is basically I'm going to present each topic, and each topic, in this case step by step, will have subtopics, and for each subtopic I'm going to give you guys to do the exercise. Okay, so before we move on, make sure you download the lab and unzip it. Okay, so I'm going to explain how to do that, how to actually do the lab when we do the lab in a few minutes. So let's get started. So I'm going to start with the presentation, so which I have downloaded already here. Oops. All right, Hibernate step-by-step guide. So what we are going to do here is to build a very simple Hibernate application, and we are going to use a single domain class called the person. And this person class is going to be mapped into a database table called the person. And the person class has an ID and a name fields, and those two fields will be mapped into person table, and the person table will have columns, ID and the CNAME. And then we are going to add data. Well, basically we are going to persist this person object to the table, and then we are going to retrieve data from that person table through Hibernate. We are going to use 2 database servers, but you can use any database server of your choice. We are going to use JavaDB as our primary database server, and we are going to also use MySQL as alternative database server. So basically we are going to learn how we can configure these database specific configuration information for Hibernate. And we are going to use two different schemes representing domain class and table mapping. So in Hibernate, you have to specify how you are going to map your domain class, in this case person domain class to person table, and you can do in two different ways. One is using XML file and the other one is using annotation. So we can actually do practice, and we can actually play around these two schemes in this lab. So I don't expect you to understand every single thing here. I mean, the goal of this particular presentation and lab is to get you started, okay, for building Hibernate application. So steps for building simple Hibernate application. So we are going to write person domain class, and this is a POJO class. And then we are going to create Hibernate mapping file for domain class. So it's supposed to be done for each domain class. Since we have a single domain class person, the only file that we have to write is person.hbm.xml file. So this is the file in which you are going to map your domain class to a table. Okay. So what is the name of the table and what is the name of the columns and things like that. And then you are going to write a Hibernate configuration file. So this is the configuration file. You are going to specify what database server you are going to use and things like that. All right, so step number one is writing domain class. So this is a person class. As you can see, this is very simple class which has two fields, ID and name field. And we have a getter and setter method. And that's pretty much it. And then we are going to write a mapping file for each domain class. So in this case, this is person.hbm.xml file. So again, this file is used to map your domain class to your table. So in this case, this is the name of your Java class, and this is the name of the table. Okay, and which field we are going to use an ID for that primary key column in the table. Okay, and this generator element is specifying what is the key generation scheme that we are going to use. So here we are going to use increment scheme. So we're going to learn each of these things in detail later on. I'm just giving you a big picture. And then you specify the column name of each Java classes field, domain classes field. So in this case, name field of a person class will be mapped into a column name called the CNAME. Okay, and this is the string type of the column. All right, then step number 3, we are going to write Hibernate configuration file. And as I said, this is where you can specify database server that you are going to use. In this case, we are going to use Java DB, so we are going to specify a driver, the client, the driver class, and what is the URL, and then username and password. And you also specify what is the dialect you are going to use. So this dialect is representing what database server you are going to use. In this case, Derby is the code name of Java DB. And then mapping file. So this is where you have to specify what is a mapping file of your domain class. Okay, so since you have a single mapping file, we are going to specify person.hbm.xml. So if you have another mapping file, then you also have to specify that right after that. All right, so let's do our first exercise. Okay, so basically what you have to do is you are going to download this lab, and then we are going to unzip it. So I have that I have actually downloaded all the zip files. So if you say have a step, so I have downloaded the zip file, and you're going to unzip it. So I have already unzipped it. Okay, so you can use jar command, or you can use any unzip utility of your choice. So I'm gonna just try one more time, unzip it. And then you are going to have the directory called the Hibernate _ step by step, and underneath there is index.html file, and that is the lab documentation you want to read. So let me just open that index.html file. So that is on the labs, and Hibernate step by step and index. So this is the documentation I want you to open and then use it as a guidance. So what we are going to do is exercise 0, 1, and 2. Exercise 0 is basically studying a database server. Okay. So as I mentioned before we get started, we are going to use Java DB as our major database server. The easiest way to start Java DB data server is from NetBeans. Okay, so later on we are going to use Eclipse for running the application, but for starting a Java DB server, I'm going to use a NetBeans. So start the NetBeans, and then go to the services, and then databases, and then start Java DB server. Okay. All right, so Java DB server is now up and running. And then you have to actually create a database. So that is step 02. So you are going to right click Java DB server and then click the database. Okay. And the database I want you to create is my database. So make sure you are creating this my database, because we are actually using this database in all our sample applications. So make sure the name of the database is my database. Username and password is also app and app. Okay, so this one have to be this way. Otherwise, you have to change your sample code yourself. Okay, because this is sort of the hard-coded values we use in our sample application. Okay, so you created my database. I have already created that one, so I should have my database right here. Okay, so I can just connect once you create it, and then you can see all the tables. Okay, so all the tables are under app tables. So I have a bunch of tables right here. Okay, all right. You probably don't have any tables at the moment, so that's perfectly fine. Okay, so making a connection, and then you're all set. All right, now exercise 1. Here we are going to build Hello World Hibernate application step by step. Okay, so you can actually create any Java application using Eclipse or NetBeans. Here I'm going to create a Maven project, and I give an instruction using the Eclipse. Okay, but again, you can use any ID of your choice, or you can even create Maven project at the command line. Okay, so here we are going to create. So I'm going to actually show you. So we are going to create file, new, and then you probably have to select other, and then select Maven, and then Maven project. Okay, and next. Okay, and select the create simple project, because we are actually creating a very simple the Java application. Okay, so this is perfectly fine. Okay, and if you have a working set, you can just use I'm using Hibernate step-by-step working set, and click next, and then you specify all the information that I specify here. Okay, so group ID, I'm going to specify com.jpassion. And the artifact ID, I'm going to say Hibernate Hello World, and you can choose any version of your choice. And packaging is jar, and name, you can give any name of your choice. Typically, you are going to give the same as the artifact ID. Okay, so choose that one, and then click finish. And then you want to create you want to modify pom.xml file that gets created using these contents. Okay, so basically what we do is we are going to use Hibernate core. The version is 4.2.425 final. This is relatively latest version, and you also have to have the client Derby driver. So make sure you have you want to just copy the whole thing into pom.xml file. Okay. And then the next step is the write Pojo class. So you are going to create person Pojo class, and you can give any packaging of your choice. Here I'm going to just use com.jpassion.hibernate hello world, and person and finish. And then you want to modify person.java with these contents. Okay. And then we are going to write the Hibernate mapping file for that project class we created. So that's basically creating person.hbm.xml file. Okay. So you want to create under resources. So right click resources and new, and I'm going to just choose file. And the file name I'm going to choose is going to be person.hbm.xml and finish. Okay. And then we are going to modify that person.hbm.xml file with this content. So basically, as we have learned in the presentation, we are going to specify this is the name of the class, and then that is mapping to this person table. And this is the ID, and this is the name field mapping to CNAME column, and that type is supposed to be string. Okay. Okay, so that's what we have done. And then we are going to write the Hibernate configuration file. So in the same directory, you're going to create hibernate.cfg.xml file. Okay. And here you are going to again copy this command, copy this file. So important aspects of this file is again database connection settings. In this case, again, we are using Java DB and SQL dialect, and then mapping file. Okay. All right. Then we are going to write the main.java file. So main.java file is just for testing purpose. And also there is the utility file called the Hibernate util.java file. Okay. So as you can see in this main, we are basically creating a session factory, and session object. Okay. So this is basically the code that you have to be concerned. Again, I want you to just copy the whole thing. And here we are basically creating a person object, and then we are going to save it after changing the name to Sang Shin. And then we create another person object, and then we save. Okay. And then when we commit, that's the time these two person objects will be persisted to person table. So we are going to have 2 rows in the person table. All right, and the write Hibernate util.java file. So this is basically used for testing and debugging purpose, nothing else. So I don't expect you guys to understand this code. Okay. So basically, this is basically the utility code. So just to copy the file. Okay. Copy the contents and create that file. Okay. All right, so that is that. And then basically all you have to do is then now run you want to build it. So right click it, run as, and Maven install. And then we are going to see the build success. Then you're going to run the application. So right click it, run as, and Java application. Okay, and then when you run it, it will ask you what is the main class. So you're going to choose this main class, and then we are going to see the result. Okay. All right. If you see this problem, opening socket to server with localhost port 1527, that means you have not studied Java DB server. Okay. All right. So you can take a look at the person table from NetBeans. So right click it and connect. And then you can actually see my database. There should be a person table. Okay. So go to the person table, and then you actually should see these 2 rows. Okay. You can build and run the application of the command line. So basically Maven clean install, and then you can run it. The way you are going to run it at the command line is Maven and the exec:\java, and then you specify the main class. So in this case, -d exec.main class, and then you specify the full path of your main class. Okay, and then you should actually see the same result. Okay, I'm gonna just run this sample application. The solution is provided under solutions. Okay, so you can just run it first, and then you can actually build it. Okay, so let me just try that. So I'm going to import the solution. It's existing Maven project, and it is under a lab. So I'm going to go to labs, and Hibernate step by step, and there is a solution. Okay, so you can just import the whole thing if you want to, and finish. All right, so I'm going to run it. So let me just maybe install first, just making sure that it's built successfully. Okay, then I'm going to run it. Java application, and this is the main class, and I click OK. All right, so it worked okay. The first person Sang Shin, and second person is Young Shin, and this is the table. Okay. All right, so that's exercise 1. Why don't I actually give you guys about 15 minutes to do exercise 1, then I'm going to move on to exercise 2. Okay. All right. So let me just explain the exercise 2, and then I'm going to give you a few more minutes. So exercise 2, here we are going to add another project class. Okay, so here you can just change existing Hibernate Hello World application, or you can create a new project by copying existing project. So if you want to just keep the old code as it is, then I recommend you to copy it. So the way that you are going to create the copy project is the right click. So if you're using Eclipse, a little bit of tricky. So I'm going to just create another like Hibernate. So right click, copy. So this is for copying and then you're going to say right click and paste, and then you're going to name the project. So since I already have Hibernate Hello World 2, I'm going to say Hello World 3, something like this. Okay, and then you are going to use so and then you're going to just click OK. All right. So once you have done that, you want to change the pom.xml file. So let me just we'll see. I'm going to just OK, and it gets created here. And then you want to change the pom.xml file to reflect the new project. So in this case, Hibernate Hello World 3, and you want to also change the name as well. Okay, and then you should be able to build and run the application. And if you're using NetBeans, same deal. You're gonna just copy and paste. Okay, and run as, and then I'm gonna run the application, and it should work. And select the main, hello world, and it works the same. Okay, so you want to create the new project. Okay, to paste it, and just change the project name to something else. Okay, and then you want to modify the pom.xml file, which I just did. And here we are going to create a new project class. In this case, it's going to be called student. Okay, so student.java. And again, student.java project class is pretty simple class. Okay, so here we have an ID, and then it has two fields, two extra fields, school and grade. Okay, and so you want to just copy this code. Okay, and then you have a get and setter method for those fields. And we also have to create a mapping file for student domain class. So here, the name of the mapping file is going to be student.hbm.xml file. And the deal is pretty much the same. We specify the mapping information. So this class has to be mapped. This class will be mapped into student table. And this is an ID. And these are properties. Okay. And here we are going to modify main.java file. So if you take a look at the main.java file, again, we are going to create the database tables. Okay. So first we are going to drop it. So the reason we can actually run this application over and over without causing any problem is because, first thing we do is just drop the table first. Okay. So we are going to add this to this line, just dropping student table, and then we also create the table. Okay, so copy this line, And then we are also performing some persistence operations. So we create a student object, we change the values of the student object. We are setting the school and grade, and then you also save. Okay. And we can also retrieve by using get method. We are going to actually look into, yeah, so it looks like there's actually space here. We are going to actually look into all these, the persistent method later on. So, don't worry about those methods for now. Just copy this code, okay? And later on, we are going to display the student table. And then we are going to modify hibernate.cfg.xml file, which you have to specify, the mapping file for all the domain classes. So we have to add this line, student.hbm.xml file, and then you can build and run the application. So here you can see we have two tables. Okay. You can also change SQL command. So go to this Hibernate cfg.xml file, and as a default, it's set to false. If you set to true, then you are going to actually observe all the SQL commands to the database. So once you change it, save it, and then you're going to see all the SQL commands that are being executed by Hibernate. Okay, so in this case, it performs the select operation, then it insert to person table and student table. Okay, all right, so I'm going to actually run the application, which I already have. So here I'm going to run it. So let's actually change the Hibernate configuration file to true so that we can observe the SQL. So here it's already changed to true. Okay, so I'm going to run the application. Okay, so this actually shows the person table and student table. Okay. All right, so I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes to try this exercise too. Okay. So next topic is using MySQL. So basically, you are going to change a few files in order to use MySQL instead of JavaDB. And the first file you are going to change obviously is Hibernate configuration file. So here you are going to specify the MySQL specific, the connection information. So this is the driver, client driver, and this is the URL and username and password. So I assume you guys have downloaded MySQL. And then you should be able to run the MySQL. I'm going to actually demonstrate that in a few minutes. And then you have to set the username and password correctly. Okay, so default is the root, and the password is null. Okay, so here you don't specify anything. And here we are going to use true. And you also specify the MySQL dialect. Okay, and also you can specify connection profile MySQL. And the rest of it is the same. Okay. All right, so let's take a look at exercise 3. So exercise 3, you are going to start MySQL. Okay, so I'm going to actually start MySQL. Okay, so I have a start MySQL, the batch file. So basically, I go to the bin directory of MySQL, then I run MySQLD. Okay. If you're running Windows, you might have installed MySQL as a Windows service. That's perfectly fine. Okay. I'd like to start MySQL at the command line. So basically, I say MySQLD. Okay. So MySQL is running on MySQL port number 33 something. Okay. JavaDB and MySQL, they use a different port, so I can actually have both database servers up and running. Okay, so you don't have to actually kill JavaDB server because they use a different port. Okay, so I am starting. Now you have to create the my database. Okay, so the way that you are going to create my database is using MySQL command line tool. Okay, so I'm going to actually open another the command line terminal, and then we are going to say MySQL -u, that's user, root, and -p, and it will ask you to enter password. Since my password is null, I'm going to just say enter. then I should actually have the MySQL shell. So I like to display all the databases I have created. So you say show databases, and make sure you have semicolon at the end. Okay, and here I have already created my database, so that's the reason I have here. Okay, so I'm gonna just drop it and recreate it. Drop drop. I forgot the command. Database. Drop database. My database. Okay, so now I can see the database. So I don't have any my database, so I'm going to actually create one. So basically, you are going to use a create database my database. Okay, so create create database my database semicolon. Now if I display all the databases, now I have my databases created. Okay, and then you can quit it. Okay, since we are not using it anymore. All right, so make sure you have created this database, and then we are going to change code. Okay, so again, you can actually create a new project. Okay, so you can copy existing Hello World 2 to create the Hibernate Hello World 2 underscore MySQL. Okay, or you can change existing code if you want to. So things you have to change is configuration file, hibernate.cfg.xml file on the resources. So these are the things you need to change. Okay. And then you also have to change Hibernate util, the Java file. Again, Hibernate util Java file is used for testing purpose. Okay. So in this case, we in fact have hard-coded value. Okay. So these are the things that you also have to change. And also you have to change a pom.xml file so that you have a dependency of MySQL database driver instead of JavaDB, and then you can run the application. Okay, so this is the way you can run the client command line. Okay, and it should actually work exactly the same. Okay, so since solution is provided, so I'm going to actually run the solution. So this is MySQL, so I'm going to run the application. And that. Okay, so it worked exactly the same. Okay, and I'm going to run at the command line. So I'm going to actually go to the labs, and the directory is Hibernate step by step, right? So I'm going to go to Hibernate step by step, and I'm going to go to solutions. And this is my sample application. Okay, so here you can actually run this is the way that you are going to rebuild the application. So Maven clean install. So mvn clean install. So it's gonna actually recompile everything. Okay, I don't have to because I didn't change anything, but just for the sake of demonstration. So everything is rebuilt, and then I'm going to run the application. So this I'm going to just copy it, and here you have to actually specify the correct path to the main class. Okay, and it should actually work the same. All right, so hopefully that gives you a sense of how things work. Okay, so. Okay, so last thing we are going to cover in this step-by-step guide is using annotation for domain class to table mapping. So instead of using XML file, okay. So here, instead of actually creating the person the .hbm.xml file, we can actually use the annotation in the domain class. Okay, so the annotation you are going to use are pretty similar to JPA annotation. This is the only time that we are going to actually use the annotation for Hibernate topics. The reason I'm not actually changing all the sample code to Hibernate annotation is mainly because we are going to cover them in detail in JPA. So annotations pretty similar. In fact, even in Hibernate community, they recommending to use a JPA annotations. Okay, so you are going to have an ample exposure in terms of how to use annotations later on when we cover JPA. Okay, so here we are going to just change the source code. So here you are going to use add entity, and this is the name of the table. So in this case, we are going to say person, and this is the way that you are going to specify which field is going to be playing the role of ID, and then generated value. So this is how you are going to generate the key, primary key value, and this is the column. Okay. So whatever you specify in the mapping file will be specified as annotations in the source code. Okay. All right, so that's exercise 4, and that's the end of the presentation. So let's take a look at the exercise 4. So you are going to change this person.java file using this annotation. Okay, so basically you are going to copy this bold fonted the code to your person.java file, and the same thing for student.java file. Okay. And we are going to use the MySQL, and here we are going to use because we are actually using the generate key generation type is identity. We are going to create. You have to create a table with which one supposed to be the field of so we have to use the auto increment here. Okay. So make sure you change this way, and then you are going to remove the configuration files because we do not need those files anymore. So the configuration mapping file, person.hbm.xml and student.hbm.xml file, they are no longer needed. So we are going to just delete those two files. Okay. So the only configuration file that we have is hibernate.cfg.xml file. And then in the CFG, the Hibernate CFG XML file, instead of actually using resource attribute, you are going to specify class attribute. Okay, and then you specify the name of the class. Okay, so this is the source code Hibernate will look into to find out the mapping information from the domain class to the table, and then you can just build and run the application. Okay, and that should work exactly the same. So I am going to run the solution. So I'm going to run as, and main is the same, and it should work fine. Okay, and make a change. Well, if you're actually following this guideline to make a change, then you'll actually see the result. If you're just running the solution, make sure you make changes to see things are really working. Okay. All right. So I'm going to give you guys about the 6 minutes, and let's have a 15 minutes break. So we will be back 15 minutes after 11. Right? But I'm around, so feel free to ask any questions you have. Let's see, we can stop.